We got everybody.
We are not expecting a video.
Good to go.
Ready to roll?
Ready to roll? On you.
The comments.
Recording is going.
All right.
Good.
Calling the meeting to order.
I like your gavel.
That's all I got. I've never had that. I got a crab now and I can. All right, here we go.
The holidays are coming, maybe.
That's right. Maybe I could. Maybe Santa will bring me. All right, so we have a quorum. We have a revised agenda. I would move that we approve the revised agenda.
I second.
Yes.
All in favor? All right, revised agenda is approved. Matters from the public. Anyone signed up?
Nobody's
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Anyone have any comments on the minutes? I wasn't there. I did not. All right, is there a motion on the minute?
Move to approve the minutes from the September 16th.
Second. All right, all in favor? All right, minutes are approved. Financial report, Adrian.
Nothing really too much to report on this front. Coming up at the end of the year, so next month and in January, we'll have this next round of tax rebates. That'll be the next biggest thing. And then we're also working on remaking that second page of the performance agreements to give you guys a better view of them as a whole. So we got that in the works, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Finished business, none. New business. Ashley.
Boom, we're fine.
Do you want to slide this down?
Okay,
Do you want to?
I was hopeful that we have guests today, to answer any questions that arose, but there would be time to follow up if there are questions following the meeting. You all may remember our awesome tour of the Siller Pollinator honey processing facility that our friends at Siller Pollinator put together last year. That was one of the APHID infrastructure grants, and the APHID infrastructure grants are designed to help small farm operations and small agribusiness develop the infrastructure that they need to be successful and to scale up. And about a month ago, prior to our joint meeting, which this is why this is coming to us in November, coming to the directors in November, we were approached by Olive Branch Gardens, and that is Amanda Churio, I think. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm going to go with Churio, and her husband Matt, who own Olive Branch Gardens. It's a farm in Barbersville, a small organic farm. They use intensive planting methods to keep the soil healthy, and they grow all their own vegetables and co-op with some local producers of pork products and flour millers to make these really fantastic pennies imperfect pizzas that they produce at Beacon Kitchen. You all might find that name familiar. It's a shared use commercial kitchen. It's located off of Carlton Avenue. We've supported the New Hill Development Corporation in the past. And so they have the opportunity to create these yummy looking pizzas. You can see there on the right, they sell them at several farmers markets. They sell them at stores and wineries throughout the region and across the state. They have a mail order option as well. And the ultimate goal of their application here is to scale up their equipment so that they can produce more pizzas to meet the demands of their customers. So the ask essentially, I won't go too far into this, but they ultimately need equipment to produce quicker. They need a dough divider and rounder, a dough press, a commercial freezer, a generator, food processor, and with all this expansion ability, they'll need 2 staff members to train and support their expanded operations. I'd love to offer some more insight on the more granular bottom lines as far as what that scale up would do for them. But their current ask is that they're asking the local match of $15,850.45. That would in theory be matched by the state, totaling $31,790. So ultimately, this decision will be made by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, December 15th. And what we're essentially asking is that you consider, based on the information that was provided in the packet in this presentation, for support if they are awarded a grant by the state.
And we would follow with a formal action on
Right.
that, after the state makes their decision.
I'm happy to do my best to answer any questions if you have any.
Actually, I do have a question. How many of these do we get from like restaurants for investments?
For these particular types of grants. Oh, hi. Hi, Amanda. Hello. Yeah, I was just presenting the.
Have a seat.
Have a seat.
And I'm just answering some questions. I'm kind of the squad here. Go ahead.
Here.
The APHID infrastructure grant specifically generally runs once in the fall, sometimes in the spring, so it's twice a year with this particular grant. You see those typically, those are more the food and beverage food producer grants that are applied for just because of the nature of their business and the funding source.
Can you talk about some of the ones that we've supported in the past?
Sure, some of the
companies,
APHID, right?
yeah.
So Potter's Craft Cider, they had a facility expansion. We made probably near Director Morrell's, the nice church that they refitted and had their second location there. They've got another location down on Broadway, and they did an infrastructure expansion grant to use a bunch of Virginia apples, like 1 gazillion pounds of Virginia apples, and investments in infrastructure equipment there. Off the top of my head, then we've got our silver pollinator grant, Kelly Turkeys, that produces, they grow the Kelly Bronze gourmet turkey from the UK out in Crozet. They were awarded.
Yeah, you can see them all up.
So
Maybe not so many now.
you know that this is the one business that reached out to us for support for this grant.
That was gonna be my next question.
So-
Is it a competitive process?
It is a competitive process, but it isn't
It's not that many
exclusive.
people.
Well, not necessarily. We typically, in my time, I think we've supported maybe 2 at a time for a specific purpose, but it just because a locality puts an application in for one business doesn't mean another one couldn't also be awarded from that same locality. But the state grants do require the locality be a applicant for the
It's just out of
the business.
Just out of curiosity. If you were a business person, how would you find if there's even available?
Well,
Yes.
actually referred by folks at the Biggie Kitchen, that they suggested she reach out and apply for the grant. So
That's great.
yeah.
So.
So if you know, it's one of those. We have in the past, we have promoted it. This year it snuck up us. We had a couple irons in the fire, and the Turlos just they slid into home base at the 11th hour.
And we did have another company
We did.
kind of connect with us to inquire about it and explore what the process would entail. They ultimately decided not to put a formal application together.
They weren't prepared at this stage. I think they'll try to.
So they're all equipment we have and Beacon have been under shared use agreement, new hires will receive training. The food safety and standard operating procedures on the commercial kitchen protocols. That indicates to me that what? Can you explain that?
Oh, the
Shared use agreement.
Sure. So
I'm gonna go and use it.
if I get this wrong, please correct me.
Sure.
But the value, the extra value for that sentiment is the state really supports regional and cooperative initiatives and projects. And because they do their production at a shared use kitchen,
Right,
they'll house until they scale up to a point where they aren't necessarily needing a commercial kitchen from shared use kitchen.
right,
They share their equipment with.
right. That was what I was digging into.
Right.
Basically, the equipment benefits more than.
Absolutely, yes.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a multiplier.
It's not a
effect.
one trick pony.
Correct.
So the investment goes a little farther.
Right.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying to-
Well, and I think the other part of that is the fact that the supplies, local food producers are
Yeah.
producing food that are being incorporated in this.
Right,
Right.
that's.
Just to reiterate, most of the ingredients that they use, if not all, are regionally sourced, right, and locally sourced.
It's possible. Some things like the cheese is really hard because obviously not much local cheese that we could use. Like we use Cabot, which is Vermont, which is like, I mean, it's not. It's not like Mexican now, but we eat veggies. We use it from our own farm, or we have a lot. We've been in the farmers market for like 6 years, so we have a lot of relationships with other farmers. Flour, we incorporate deep roots milling out in Nelson County. So meat, it's our neighbor's farm actually. So yeah, we try as much as possible.
And since this does support target industry business and it leverages regional partnerships and is consistent with our economic development strategic plan goal of growing a modern agribusiness economy.
Yeah.
We're bringing it to you for consideration. If there aren't any further questions, I'll move on and let everybody move on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can move on until there's need, I guess, for a
Well, do we need to-
formality.
Yeah.
Accepts, I mean, well,
I'll make a-
Is there,
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve this request.
Any further discussion?
Pending
Pending
approval by the state.
Oh, yeah, thank you for coming.
Yes.
You're welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of the.
We need to vote.
report, But at this point.
Yeah, we need to vote.
We need to vote. We haven't voted yet.
I do this every time. I just
You know,
get
this is like a
myself.
fun thing we can really do.
It's not a- Ooh, that was a close one. All right.
Yeah.
We'll give this some buffaloes,
Yes.
some mozzarella.
Oh, that's right.
Well, the honey people didn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's pretty-
Well, we'll see, we'll see.
The pizza.
Maybe we can all crowd into the kitchen.
not that bone in the kitchen. I don't belong in the kitchen.
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Yes,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks for
it.
asking.
Yes, pizza.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anchor steers.
So, so this is an update on the AgriSpheres. This is the existing performance agreement that the county has with AgriSpheres. They were awarded a Commonwealth Development Opportunity Fund grant from the Commonwealth of Virginia in fiscal year 23 for a total of $200,000. AgriSpheres is a company that uses organic chemistry company that has found a way to develop natural pesticides that are derived from natural ingredients. There's a lot of commercial interest in the product that they're producing. They've ramped up their hiring considerably since we celebrated their initial opening years
They're
ago.
around 34 employees at this time. Capital investment.
Yeah. So they've made substantial investments to move when we first announced, they were still refining the research and development portion of their sort of product cycle. And they are now selling product to commercial customers. So, and measured in pallets. So not small batch, but they're really ramping up their production capability. And they, really participate, the leadership of AgriSpheres participates in a lot of entrepreneurship, small business development type activities. So we're glad to have AgriSpheres in Albemarle County. Back in fiscal year 23, the county agreed to provide a 1-to-1 match for that Commonwealth Opportunity Fund opportunity. there were 3 years in that performance agreement, so that $200,000 was divided across 3 years. The year one payment went through as sort of expected, and when we checked in with them on the year two payment, we understood that there was really a need to sort of revisit the agreement that we had with them. The way that our performance agreements are structured, they terminate when a performance milestone has been missed. And in this case, the timing of the capital investments that the company made were a mismatch with the expectations as they were outlined in the performance agreement. So if you added the capital investment requirements for year one and year two, cumulatively, they met the total 2-year capital investment. But the way that that agreement was structured, they had a year one requirement and then a year two requirement that were treated sort of in isolation of each other. And so in year two, they experienced a shortfall, and the agreement does not allow us to credit that they had an overage in capital investment in year one. And so if you add year one and year two together, they actually met the cumulative capital investment. It just wasn't timed properly for the way that the agreement was structured. And so we had a conversation with the CEO to get clarity on that bit. And then also just had a conversation sort of how are things going with the business generally? Do you think there's if we're going to look at the agreement again, are there other things in the agreement that you would hope that we would look at? And they shared at that time, we were talking with them in the early spring of this calendar year, when there was a lot of uncertainty with federal funding, with some regulatory agencies at the federal level, and a lot of things happening in the investor space as well, with startup companies. And so they said, we're actually changing the timing of our capital investments. We still intend to make those capital investments. We're still fundraising towards those capital investments. We're just looking at the timing of that. And so they said, if you're looking at the agreement, we would appreciate extending out that performance timeline in order to better sync up with what our current our planned capital expenditures investments are looking like now. And so the First Amendment, it was part of your packet, and sort of does the work to enact those two changes. One, again, is that just to clarify that capital investments can be cumulative as opposed to year by year. Thank you. And then to extend the performance period for what was year 3 to calendar year 2028. Again, that just gives them a little bit of a time cushion to make those investments more in line with what their sales expectations are, as opposed to making big investments up front and letting the supply sort of lag. So that is the request before you today would be to approve the First Amendment to the performance agreement with AgriSpheres.
Any questions?
Wait, Emily, your slide says 28, but your memo says 27 for the extension.
So,
Should be
so
27.
what I
Should be
understood
27.
was.
Should be
the performance-
27.
Well, the performance period goes through 27. And then the payment itself would happen in calendar year 28, right after the performance
Yes.
period?
Yes. Fiscal versus calendar.
December 31st.
Yes.
Well, not even fiscal versus calendar, right? This says extended performance period.
Right.
Right, so that's through 27. And then in 28 is when they say,
Oh, you're
we
saying-
have done what we
right.
did,
Mhm.
right, and you're going to do it. And payment will be
Mhm.
in 28,
So what the-
okay?
Because it ends December 31st, 27.
I think we're all, so I think the payment date is right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe it sounds all fine, but it's all good faith, but I was just curious about the projections moving forward. I guess we covered that, but I was reading this.
Yeah, so they plan to meet the original the dollar amount in the original agreement for
Right.
capital investments. They plan to continue. They still plan to make those investments at that level. They'll just need a little bit more time to
Yeah.
do so.
I was just thinking about the business model.
Oh yeah, so
and
they
the revenue.
Yeah, they continue to attract capital investments. You know, they've won some national awards for entrepreneurship, and the idea that they have some strategic partnerships with major chemical companies. So there's a strong sort of drumbeat of folks are continuing to be interested in the product that they have. And again, they're just starting in the spring, they were just starting their customer sales. But when we saw the CEO a couple of weeks ago, he shared they had another pallet ready to packed up and ship out to another customer. So we feel like the trajectory of the company still remains positive. And
I mean, it's just curious.
yeah.
Not totally germane to just making sure that they're in good faith and meeting their agreement.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
the specific thing, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So, if you have information.
We can share information.
Where are they located?
They're in Seminole Place, which some people call the old Comdial building on Seminole Trail. It's lots of people know it lots of different ways. Director Hood, you know where Roback is. That is also where that is located. The education folks may know it as the location of Center One. Yeah. Whoa.
Anything else?
Just wanted to add point number one, that's going to going forward, that will be for all investments. That it's cumulative as opposed to per year.
Meaning we'll think about that in the future when we do future agreements with other companies. Yes, I think that's sort of a lesson learned from us, that we would think about that differently. As we do these agreements, we learn a lot about the mechanics of what it feels like to actually implement them.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can talk about it being cumulative as long as they're hitting first benchmark, right? You can't say, well, we're going to invest $2 million over 2 years. The first year we hit 500,000, but don't worry, we're going to get that 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So you can give us the money up front, right? So, right. It's more, we overshoot in year one.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little behind in year two, and I think that's sort of where you're getting with this. That if you're falling short in year one, that's a different situation when you talk about cumulative, because we may not be paying within. Right. But if they hit it by year two,
I don't know if that could be prescriptive. It would be a simple decision and investment because everything different risks and metrics and all that. So maybe there could be.
Yeah.
We're not making this prescriptive forever.
Yeah, we try to meet the company where they're at.
Right.
And so some need capital up front, some can take it more over time. And that's sort of the conversation that we have as we try to figure out the best approach to, safeguard the county's investment and risk. But also meet
This stage, that this only applies to the agrisphere.
Yes, yeah.
All right, your motion?
Motion to amend the first,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
a motion to.
I'll take it.
Sarah, reading.
There is.
I move that the EDA adopt this resolution amending the COF agreement and appropriate $75,000 for payment of this year's 2 installment, subject to the terms of this resolution and the resulting agreements, and to authorize the Albemarle County Executive and this authority's chair and treasurer to execute all documents necessary to complete the First Amendment COF agreement and payment of the year 2 installment of the match grant.
second.
All right. All in favor?
No.
We have to do, do we have to do a
Roll call vote.
Okay.
A whole vote.
It says payment in calendar year 28. So if I'm the business owner, it'll be the end of the year 28, or do we care?
The way that we operationally work through these payments, we know when the tax deadlines are, and so that's sort of our performance agreement management process. So after the second year tax payments are made, we then have 60 days to sort of initiate that payment process.
Do they do
No, I
that?
just.
Yeah.
Send out usually.
All right, are we ready for a roll call?
Yes.
Director Long, Director Hood. Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Metchnick,
Aye.
Director Storm.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Staff report, Emily.
All right. So the staff report has a little bit farther of a look back because we did meet in October, but it was a joint meeting with the City of Charlottesville EDA. That feels like ages ago, but it was just 1 month. And so we have a little bit of a farther look back as we were putting the slides together. I was wondering, why were we talking about some of these things? But it was new to you. And so we'll hit those. And one is really just wanted to recognize, this is a slide we've used in several meetings over the past year to talk about some of the big documents that we've been working through. And so just wanted to not miss with you all that the comp plan was adopted in October by the Board of Supervisors. Once you adopt the new plan, there's a lot of work ahead. So yeah. It's just the start of a lot more work, but we're really excited to have that clarity on what that policy document says. That does help us with our work and communicating with folks on what's possible with their land or land that they're interested in. And so we're excited to have that just be able to move forward from that. On the strategic plan, the economic development strategic plan, the EDA had approved supporting an engagement with Civic Soul. So Stephen Pedigo, who was the person assigned to our plan development with a different company, is now with Civic Soul. And the EDA is supporting some implementation work on that. We've internally kicked that off. So we've had a couple of work sessions as an internal office on sort of operationalizing the strategic plan. We had hoped to actually do a session in November and December with the EDA. There was a schedule conflict that we couldn't resolve. And so we will have Stephen Pedigo here in December to do sort of a kickoff with you all. And then in January, we'll try to give as much time as we can. So we'll try to keep things off, other items off the agenda, to spend some really dedicated work session time with Stephen, working through sort of how does the EDA see its role in implementing the strategic plan. We think that'll be a really valuable exercise for everybody. And we'll send some resources ahead of your December meeting for you all, not to sort of present the nitty gritty of authorities of EDAs in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but just for you to sort of have to sort of think through when you have some spare time, is sort of as preparation for that January meeting.
What departments been involved in the initial?
Initially, it's been focused on the Economic Development Office, and then there's sort of a second pass that we're still sort of in the process of working through of, what are the other departments? What do we need from them? How do we work with them? How do we make sure that we're advancing the work that needs to be?
Policy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
And there'll be a time component to that work as well. Yeah. I have a tiny Bill Metchnick that's in we're starting some sort of the softer side of the marketing. So the plan is posted online. We scrubbed the website of references to the old plan, which is always fun. And then we're in the process of getting actual documents printed. So we'll make those available for you all when we have those. And we're sort of updating our marketing materials to reflect the new goals and sectors. And also working on what does our business attraction and retention and expansion work look like with the new plan. So we'll continue to sort of make sure that we're visiting with businesses, convening businesses. We talked at the joint meeting with the city, this idea of doing some joint stakeholder work groups with or listening sessions with the city of Charlottesville where we have overlaps in our target sectors, so that we're really leveraging sort of the shared experience of the businesses operating in our metropolitan area.
Yeah. Are there any theory sort of appropriate projects for this board, maybe in our individual districts and, you know, visiting businesses. I don't know, we got, you know, pizza.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
I think that
You need any help?
Sure, I think that there's certainly opportunities to do that, and, we currently are focusing on our agribusiness and our food processors, and I've got a couple out in the field, in the next coming weeks that people are welcome to join us in an email out, a couple days ago, but if you're interested in coming, by all means, join, yeah, obviously space is a little limited, and we don't want to inundate a business with the whole group,
Sure.
but I do think it is entirely
Well, I think it's
up to you have autonomy too, and
right in general.
Sure.
And that's a
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, we represented.
Right.
Yeah.
It's on our area.
Oh, two at a time, right? That's
Yeah.
right, two at a time.
So our intention.
Oh, important.
Yeah. So our intention is that that as we get the visit set up per quarter, that we would offer out, you know, for the ones where it would be appropriate. Sometimes we know that we can't bring additional folks, but for the ones where we can, our intention would be to offer those up, and then it would be kind of a first come, first served for quorum reasons. Because we think there's good value in you all getting out and seeing some of the work.
Well, particularly if it's in our areas.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
It's like, oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
And those are opportunities too, as well, that, you know, I, as one person, it is difficult to get to everybody in the county. So if there are people, business owners that you do have contact with and relationships with that are
Right.
interested, by all means, connect me
That's right.
to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be wildly appropriate.
Oh,
You
great.
know,
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. This is another slide that we have updated you all on over the past year. Just wanted to note, it's been a couple months since we got the VDOT, the bottom one, the VDOT Economic Development Access Program funding awarded. But we wanted just to let you know that we were successful in that grant application. And so that's just some additional funding coming to the county in support of the Urbana Futures project that we're just really excited about the support. Wanted just to, many of you were here at the announcement for the AstraZeneca project. Again, that feels like ages ago, but was just a couple weeks ago. And so don't need to spend a ton of time on the announcement event, but wanted just to give a little bit more detail on the project, because there was so much happening at the announcement that we wanted to make sure that you all had a sort of an awareness of sort of what is to come on this project. So again, it's sort of one biopharmaceutical manufacturing campus. There's actually two manufacturing facilities that are part of AstraZeneca's plan. One facility will be larger and have office, warehousing, and production sort of along a central spine. And then there'll be a second facility that's more of a standalone facility that will be able to share some of the resources of the other, but they will be two distinct manufacturing processes. In total, AstraZeneca will take 82 of the 105 acres that we've been sort of planning around over the past several years, which is really exciting. It's the northernmost 82 acres on the property. And we sort of had been conceptually planning that would be the last property to be occupied. It's really exciting to think about what the remainder of the property will look like, with sort of two anchors on either end of it, with Ravenna Station, which is obviously not part of the county's land holding, and then AstraZeneca at the northern end. There were three, we call them land bays, so three major land bays. They're taking an enlarged one, and then we have a reduced one. So there's two remaining. Yeah. So there's one that's 25 acres that remains, that's sort of between Ravenna Station and that private office building that's up there, and AstraZeneca on the west side of the road. And then on the east side of the road, am I east and west, right? No, opposite, on the west side of the road. 105. We have also, we're in the process of, we need to update the conceptual plan. Because we think there's probably more opportunity out there than just the 105. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So the math doesn't quite math right now, but it will again as we work through that. It's a total of 600 direct jobs. There's induced and indirect jobs associated with any big economic development announcement, but we're really excited about the 600 direct jobs that they've committed to creating at the two facilities.
Workers that will make the pharmaceuticals,
Mhm.
not construction workers. that
Correct.
build.
Correct. Construction jobs is estimated at 3,000. And that, development timeline is several years, but not, those jobs will not remain here forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, the 600 is just the folks working in
Mhm.
manufacturing process. not
And
necess-
office.
And office, but not necessarily all the service jobs.
Correct.
associated
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
A facility like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. The minimum salary on those jobs is 125,000. When you look at the spreadsheet of all the jobs, it's an average salary of $160,000 a year. These are not necessarily college degree jobs, but they are specialized manufacturing jobs. And so there's some training that AstraZeneca does in-house. And I have a slide in a minute about Virginia Center for Advanced Pharmaceutical Manufacturing, which will also be part of the solution on ensuring that Virginia's workforce is the workforce that's hired into these jobs. And the total capital investment for all of the AstraZeneca program is $4.5 billion. Just to make a point, in September of last year, we talked about Afton Scientific. $200 million, 200 jobs. That was larger than all of our prior economic development announcements put together. And so just for scale, 4.5 billion, 600 jobs is just incredible to be talking about just a short period later. AstraZeneca has a real focus on green building. They're still refining their designs, but their plans include on-site solar panels, both on buildings and on the ground. And then for additional energy needs, beyond that, they're working with the energy provider to receive green energy out of their portfolio. They're looking to integrate as many green design principles into their building design as they can. And they have a real emphasis on closed loop systems for recapture and reuse. So they'll be trying to be as efficient as they can be in their manufacturing process. I like this slide the best because it sort of puts all of the opportunities together. There's the Economic Development Strategic Plan talks about the need for an anchor in the biotech life sciences space to help just give some vibrancy to what is a really active entrepreneurial ecosystem with a lot of pipeline opportunities coming out of the University of Virginia with just the research that they do there. And so this really provides really tangible partnership opportunities for UVA, workforce and upskilling with PVCC, commercial partnerships with all the local companies that are operating here. There'll be some infrastructure build out associated with AstraZeneca's project that will have benefits well beyond just their dirt. It'll open up opportunities elsewhere in the northern part of the county. And we do expect that the next couple of years we'll see more interest from other similar types of facilities, as well as supply chain partners that would be interested in co-locating with AstraZeneca.
We have a real done something similar. I know this is one of the biggest,
It's
the biggest one they've done, but whether it's another company as an example of something that's scalable, it's already done. That I can research and understand what you're saying here on potential because it's actually happened in other.
Yeah, so we are working we're working at that question a couple different ways right now. Sabun Ahmadzai is that's part of his work plan is to look at, we know there's other facilities that in the United States that could be good benchmarks, as well as working regionally and with the state, because statewide there's more than one large manufacturing company that's announced in that space. And so the Commonwealth should be thinking holistically about what are some of those opportunities. So we're kind of trying to attack that question from a couple different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on how they operate, what their needs are, there's some have to things that
Mhm.
are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that, and then digging into it, that we know how. to support
Mm-hmm.
those things.
Yeah.
Know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. So we look forward to sharing as we learn more on that front with you all.
Hey, what's the time, Emily, the theoretical time? So when do they, I know we all ran out there and broke ground, but that wasn't really like the real.
You have to double.
Yeah.
Like, so when does it all, I mean, when do you think in your mind? I mean, when does it, what do you think?
Yeah. So site work. So the past 12 months, we've talked a lot about business ready sites and site readiness, and we've been pursuing grant funding in that regard. And we were sometimes we forget that we were successful in getting one of those grants. So the county's site work will start with the calendar year. And beginning sometime in the month of January, you'll start to see some earthwork, some clearing work, tree removal. We've been working through that. Yeah. Current status I can't commit to, but it's in the process to be able to be ready to do that work starting in January. And then AstraZeneca's development starts maybe a year-ish later.
So like 27 Ernest.
Yeah, and they're hoping to have one facility open during calendar year 2028. I don't know when. And then the other one would be the larger one would be hopefully 2029, could be 2030.
When?
Just this is how it aligns. We talked about this a little bit already, how it aligns with some of the work from the strategic plan. And then I referenced this workforce training opportunity. AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, and Merck have committed dollars to create $120 million to support the Center for Advanced Pharmaceutical Manufacturing. There'll be a lot more details about what this actually looks like in the next coming months. But an exciting opportunity to really help support Eli Lilly and Goochland, AstraZeneca and Albemarle, Merck and Rockingham, the 64 starting up 81 corridor is going to be looking different than it has traditionally. And this is, again, just an opportunity to ensure that Virginians are workforce ready for these opportunities.
So is this a place?
Yes.
Is that part of what we're?
That's kind of part of what lies ahead. It's a place, but is it 3 places? Is it 4 places? Is it 2 places? We are certainly excited about being sort of in the middle, the geographic middle. We think that puts us in a good position to be a place.
I think we have a little spare land.
And so there's a steering committee that's going to come together in the next couple of weeks to start really building that plan to make sure that the dollars that they have are focused in the right way. And a lot of partnerships with the announcement event had, Dr. Jean Runyon with PBCC was there, UVA was there, other university partners across the Commonwealth were there. So they're not trying to come in and create something fully new. And so exactly, again, like how do you leverage current assets and skills in training so that you're not just standing up a new center when you could have leveraged some existing resources. So that's kind of the work ahead to figure out what does that really look like. But we're really excited about it.
What is the timeline for that?
They want to have a plan in place and they're measuring that timeline in months. And then, when does the first facility open? Again, I think the answer partially depends on how much are they able to say, here's some existing space that we can kind of repurpose versus having to build something fresh. So I think we'll know a lot more, by the summer of what that'll look like. But, the need, with all these jobs announced, the need has a timeline on it. And so I think folks are also trying to work backwards on how quickly can we stand up the right things to be effective.
Does something like this also benefit Aspen Scientific?
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of our smaller entrepreneurs who have, a staff of 12 to 20, where they can't stand up a really robust training program, but they have a specialized need. This hopefully will provide a place where they can, send folks, recruit folks from. Again, what does that model actually look like? Depends on some of the details.
So just for clarification, so this would be like all about the equipment, not actually anything medical, right? This is just like all the machines and
Yes.
go into making the drugs. Not, you don't have to have any medical background.
Correct. Yeah, this is technician level style training. How to work in a clean space, ISO best practices, that type of stuff.
And the BioBridge,
Yes, the TPI. Yep.
that it's sort of in looking at how to expand workforce and all that. I mean, this was one of the sessions that I went to. There was discussion about how, you needed these people that UVA was producing more of the medical people, but not necessarily the people who could run the machines or do the sort of technical things. And so I think that's where this piece is.
And it's interesting because just from like a skill set and personality type, most of the people who you'll find who tend to lean and they work with their hands usually aren't the ones that are so, college families, right? When my youngest son is like that, loves to work with his hands, loves to do things mechanically, but he hates to sit there and listen to lectures. And stuff like that. So it's interesting. I think the recruitment, and this is where hopefully they're smart enough to really use the resource that PVCC is, because that's going to be the type of student who's going to find a job like this attractive versus somebody who, they want to study and write papers and things like that, and do research. So very interesting demographics. So it's good that you're looking at it from multiple perspectives because you are going to meet different types of skill sets for that workforce. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious about the typical profile for employees in that subsector of the industry and what that education profile looks like. Is it high school and then technical training? Is it high school then like a community college and technical training?
I think it varies.
I think it varies. I think they're still working through. Some of the details of that. We will learn a lot more as they have a hiring ramp up that they're getting ready to do right now. They're trying to put in some of the key players that will recruit and operate the facility, so that they can start doing the hiring of people who will work at the facility. And so I think as they get that first tier of hiring done, they'll be better able to articulate what those real needs are. But part of Afton Scientific also took advantage of a state program, the Talent Accelerator Program, which brings a really wonderful and best-in-class resources to companies expanding in Virginia or locating in Virginia that deal with workforce training. They'll go film, if there's another facility like this in Singapore, they'll send a video team to Singapore to film the process, the work in Singapore, and then use that to do training modules for the workforce here. They also help with recruitment and resume kind of scanning. The Lego facility got thousands of applicants for the new Lego facility, and they didn't even know where to begin with that. So then they helped them figure out how do you actually sort through thousands of resumes. And so that Talent Accelerator Program is really helpful in finding the workforce that we didn't know we had. I imagine that these companies with their announcements will be looking at that too. And that will actually help us learn sort of more strategically what are those needs, and then again, do we have the right players and resources to meet them?
It's PVCC that I've talked about this before, but there is really such a dearth of basically say blue collar labor, but all of the electricians, plumbers, HVAC, there, and so many of those people in those trades are retiring, and there's not enough new younger people coming into those trades. PVCC has an amazing opportunity here, and honestly, Charlottesville does, because I think one of the things you have to be careful of, you have this really high end with the people coming out of the university. But if you don't have those jobs to support it, I mean, it's really, because everybody's refrigerator goes out, everybody's HVAC goes out, you know, and you need the construction jobs, you need the construction trades. And if there's a huge opportunity also for Charlottesville to really be a hub in developing, because PVC has a great, PVCC has such a great reputation to grow that. If they were smart and really expanded a lot of those programs, it would do a lot to help fill all of these gaps. And it's huge. It's a huge gap that my husband works in property management, and, you know, sometimes trying to find someone to fix something is very difficult. It's getting harder and harder.
Yeah. And PVCC sees that. They this year they launched for the first time. City of Charlottesville is a major sponsor, the Skilled Trades Day.
Yes.
It was really Next Gen Skilled Trades Day, and they had hundreds of people there.
They did. We also had an opportunity to meet with some of the employers that work with the Scholar Studios. That's an ACPS program that helps kids kind of go into a little bit of a focus so that they're taking classes they enjoy and they're going to get them on the track that they're interested in. But with their construction companies and electrician type folks there that have been trying to work with that particular studio. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but
there's a lot of new
awareness
focus, or like newer focus on this speed. So unfortunately, it's not an overnight solve for a lot of these retiring folks who have so many years. But
a lot of this is very special. So my daughter Emily worked at a local, I was down on Allied Street, down by the state barbecue place on Allied Street. I forget what it's called, but across from the barbecue place, usually anyway, they have a big machine in there. It like mashes stuff together, and she never done that thing for the summer, but it's pretty complicated.
I know exactly where that.
Sorry.
Barbecue place. I was there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The southern states, it's very nice. The southern states.
Oh, Ace Biscuit.
Ace Biscuit. Yeah, I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's the biotech research.
Is that Luna Labs?
No.
Okay.
The point is, some of this stuff is like accelerator.
No, there's some great opportunities for sure.
Picture. Group shot.
This is just our group shot. I just wanted to brag on our staff. When you start in economic development, everybody says it's a team sport. Literally every single human in that picture got the AstraZeneca project to land in their own way. There's not one person that did anything on their own. I was so glad that we got a picture with everybody, with the excavator that we found.
You could barely even see the excavator.
I know the team is
so many.
We block out the excavator. Thank you for indulging me on that. We've been at a number of exciting events. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I think I'll just point out on here, I've got a laser pointer. These are from the Manning Institute topping off ceremony. So they've got the final beam was placed for the Manning Institute, which is at the Fontaine Research Park. That really is going to transform the speed that medicines hit patients, and a lot of the IP generation that's part of that chain. To be able to really connect the ideas coming out of the university with, clinical trial patients, and then a lot of spin-off opportunities from there. Ashley was able to participate in a Piedmont craft beverage seminar that happened in Orange County, that got a lot of our agribusiness food processors together to talk about some opportunities for them to scale their business, another strategic plan alignment. You want to pick one on here, Ashley, to talk about?
Sure. These are just some things that have gone on the last few weeks. On the left side there, the Scholar Studios advisory board that I was just talking about. I attended that meeting today, and that was really, really cool. In the middle, the Charlottesville Business Innovation Council, one of our business partnership groups in the community, We had a strategic planning session there in the middle. And then on the right, we've got Trevor presenting at the regional partnership meeting that occurred a couple weeks ago. I think he was giving a AstraZeneca update, right? I think.
Yep.
And then below that are some folks from the UVA. I can't recall if it's Career Center or
it was-
advisory.
Yeah.
To many of the different schools that they represent and how we can work together to connect the right folks to the right jobs
Yeah.
and
Student,
all that good stuff.
UVA students with local jobs.
Real quick touch on BRE. I know we've talked a lot about this already, but it's agribusiness and food processing border. We've done 3 visits so far, 1 in intelligence and national security, and 3 in biotech and life sciences.
And
The matters. So I did have one, which not, I wish we were still here for it. So the Scouting America, formerly Boy Scouts, will start selling Christmas trees next week. And we've got 2 or 3 locations around the county. And I've heard from the people who have to get the permits for us to do it, how cumbersome it is to get permits to sell Christmas trees in the months of November and December. And we may have signage, but only until December 14th, and we can't go until December 21st when we'll want to sell trees. I'm sorry?
That's weird.
Which is my point about, and again, we're not business, we're not a big business, but we add to business, right? People will stop at our locations, and if we are at Hollymead, in the undeveloped area by Coles, or we're at Harbor Freight, or we're at Fifth Street. All of these are county locations, or we're out in Crozet. So there are 4 different locations just in Multnomah County. And people will see us and they will stop and they'll buy a tree, but then they'll also stop and support another business. And just the amount of time involved by these volunteers who don't normally do this process, right? And I know somewhere in our economic development strategic plan, it's streamlined permitting. But just having this appearance of it, on a front row seat for it, and how picky and detailed some of it is. It must be 40 feet from this intersection with this road, so you don't.
David, what permit is required specifically?
I'm sorry?
What permit is required?
I was referring to zoning permits.
I'm sorry?
Zoning permits probably that are handled.
Right, so I'll have to go back and double check. Right, there's signage permits involved, it's a
And
sort
these
of
are
a
all
temporary
county
business.
mandated, right?
Yeah.
Temporary
Right.
business, right, these are all mandated by the code. But it's certainly not a streamlined process and not one. It's one we have to start in August to get for November for the month that we're gonna be selling Christmas trees. And so it's just one of those things that when a business comes to us looking for our help,
Right. Probably easier to get a fireworks stand.
it might, but again, a lot of those, right? And the companies that do that, they do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're not. I mean,
The citizens are volunteering.
right, we're selling trees, but in a lot of respects, we're, as scouts, we're teaching the kids how to talk to adults and handle money and work on their nuts so the tree doesn't fly off of the top of the car. We're not really, the adults are the ones who are the ones navigating the permit process because we don't want to scare the kids, right? about what it means. When we talk about an entrepreneurship or a anyway.
Permit expediting.
Red tape cutting, right? But it's one, it's a challenge, and 2, it's something that we'll share
I'll find a time to share with the right offices. But two, as companies come to us and the hoops that you all have to jump through to get an AFID grant or whatever other grant, the work is really great. But I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. One, so that you would buy your Christmas tree one. If you're getting Christmas trees, that Christmas tree. But two, that it's a real challenge for small business that doesn't always interact with Albemarle County to interact with Albemarle County times.
So overall, that's the goal of the strategic plan, which will be an actionable item that strangely, I don't know how fast it'll happen. It's not gonna happen this year, but.
My youngest is 9. We're gonna be selling Christmas trees.
Okay.
But yeah, no, but it's a challenge. It's something to streamlining the permitting process and making it more user.
Especially for that category, temporary sale.
Well, and repeatable.
Yeah.
It's the same thing,
Right.
same location.
Yeah.
And we have different issues with the landowner and the realty company that runs the locations that we're selling. Right, we have to jump through their hoops too, and we have to, but it's a matter of, oh, it's August, let's start thinking about Christmas trees. Which we really start thinking about in February, which is where are we gonna buy them? Because much like we don't have people entering the trades, people who own the Christmas tree farms, the next generation are staying on the farm. So that's a different problem. So anyway, just wanted to share that with everyone as we're talking about other things that we can do aside from business visits as a county to make it a better place to run a business, even if it's temporary.
Well,
Thank you.
good luck at the fire people when you're involved. Hopefully there. Fauquier County, we're just trying to upgrade some docks on the lake. The rec center that has an existing road to it, and the fire department wants to make it build a 25-foot wide entrance road with turnaround so a ladder truck can get through there. So we can't build the dock upgrade.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. No, thank you. That's good job. Anything else?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Next meeting, December 16th. And if anybody wants to go to the
INSA.
2 so far.
Yeah, so the Intelligence
Director.
National Security Alliance rescheduled their annual their now annual conference in Charlottesville. And it is Tuesday, December 16th.
same day.
Same day. So you can spend the morning with us over at the Boar's Head. And if you do want to attend, please let us know. There's an optional tour of the Ravenna Futures property immediately following the event. That is probably waitlisted, but I probably can get you in. I know someone. The Intelligence National Security Alliance. They're having one of their Common Threads event series. And because of the federal shutdown, it was a challenge to get federal speakers to be able to get permission to participate. And so they made the decision to move it out a month. So it'll be December 16th, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Great job to you and your team,
Yeah.
everybody, and just phenomenal work. This
Yeah.
is not,
Yep.
it's a heavy lift. And so you guys have just done well.
Thank you.
They look easy.
Thank you all.
Great, everybody.